This week's parsha is Parshat Vayeshev. This week's parsha starts off the episode of the brothers. We're actually not going to focus on that this week. I want to go all the way to chapter 40. That's where we're introduced to Yosef where Yosef is in prison. He rose up to the top ranks of the prison. We should not be surprised. Yosef seemed to rise to the top ranks of everything in what he did. And Joseph is then encounters these two courtiers of Pharaoh who are also thrown into prison. There's a reason why, but Rabbi Kirstenfeld wants to bring our attention to the way the dreams, what dreams each of these courtiers had, and the end results of the dreams and why it occurred that way. So, bear with me, chapter 40, verse 8. So in the second part of the verse, Joseph said to them, after he heard that they had dreams, Do not interpretations belong to God? Relate it to me, if you please. Okay? So let's take a look. I'll be reading it in English. Then the chamberlain of the cupbearers recounted his dream to Joseph and said to him, In my dream, behold, there is a grapevine in front of me. On the grapevine were 3 tendrils, and it is as though it budded. Its blossoms bloomed, and its clusters ripened into grapes. And Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes, pressed them into Pharaoh's cup, and I placed the cup on Pharaoh's palm. That's his dream. The chamberlain of the bakers saw that he had interpreted well, and so he said to Joseph, this is verse 16. I too in my dream, behold, 3 wicker baskets were on my head, and in the uppermost basket were all kinds of Pharaoh's food, baker's handiwork, and the birds were eating them from the basket above my head. Now we should know that it was the cupbearer who was actually reinstated to a position and lived and served Pharaoh, and the chamberlain of the bakers was executed and was not restored to his previous position. Now, there are many explanations for this, but Rabbi Kirstenfeld says, well, here's one. And if there are any mistakes I made in the exact wording of how Rabbi Kirstenfeld explained this, then that belongs to me. But the idea was as follows. Let's look carefully at the chamberlain of the cupbearer's dream, right? The one who's reinstated, who lived. Behold, there's a grapevine in front of me. Okay, so it's a plant. On the grapevine were 3 tendrils. Oh, and it was as though it budded, its blossoms bloomed, right? So we see that he went from a plant and he went through this growth process to become a flower, right? A flower looks beautiful, it smells very nice, and its clusters ripened into grapes. And then it went past this flower stage into something more tangible and something that helps other people in a more direct way, in that it feeds people, right? These grapes. So we see this process of growth going on with the cupbearer, right? He's willing to grow. He wants to push himself. He wants to become something, right? And then he takes that growth process and he actually is proactive, because we see in verse 11, and Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes, pressed them into Pharaoh's cup, right? So we see that he's willing to go out and be active and do things and make something of himself. And then the third thing is, and I placed the cup on Pharaoh's palm. So not only is he willing to grow, and not only is he willing to be proactive, he has a goal. There's something he wants. And that ends up leading to success and to life. On the other hand, the baker is completely different. Look at this. And back to verse 16. I too in my dream, behold, 3 wicker baskets were on my head. Okay? And in the uppermost basket were all kinds of Pharaoh's food, baker's handiwork. There's no process here. It's just baked goods. They're already done. There's no evolution. There's no growth going on, right? He's not being active in any way. It's just the baked good is already there. It's just on top of his head. And the birds were eating them from the basket above my head. And there's no goal. So the baker has no growth process. He's not doing anything, and he has no goal. And he ends up being executed. And Rabbi Kirstenfeld wants to say out of this idea that that's what gives you life, and that's what gives life meaning. I thought that was a beautiful idea I wanted to share. Shabbat Shalom, and enjoy.